Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakaha Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off with an article from the economiccollapseblog.com titled, "The War in Ukraine is going to trigger the biggest global food crisis that any of us have ever seen before." By the end of 2022, we are going to witness very serious shortages of food in many parts of the globe. In fact, World Bank President David Malpass is openly admitting that we are now facing a huge supply shock as a result of the war in Ukraine. Of course, we were already moving into a global food crisis even before the war erupted. According to the UN, worldwide food prices in February 2022 were 20.7% higher than they were in February 2021. Fertilizer prices have gone absolutely nuts. Crop production is down all over the planet due to crazy weather patterns and supply chain problems caused by the situation with the Crackamuffin-19 continue to create ongoing headaches. But now World War III has erupted, and that is going to push this rapidly growing global food crisis to a level that none of us have ever seen before. And with supply chain disruptions and food shortages coming, what's that ultimately going to lead to? Famines. Mass death and starvation all across the planet. And famines were one of the end times prophecies that Yahushua HaMashiach told his disciples to look for. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." You've got the war in Ukraine going on right now, the war in Yemen, and rumors of wars. World War III, the US and NATO going to war against Russia, China going to war against Taiwan, the state of Israel going to war against Iran, etc., etc. "See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation." Race wars, and you can see that racial tensions are brewing out here, especially in the United States of America, and kingdom against kingdom. Russia against Ukraine, the US against Russia, China against Taiwan, Israel against Iran, the US against China, and there shall be famines. But now World War III has erupted, and that is going to push the rapidly growing global food crisis to a level that none of us have ever seen before. Biblical famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places, and earthquakes are happening damn near daily all across the planet. All these are the beginning of sorrows. We're just in the beginning stages of these things happening. It's only going to get worse from here on out. This is the new normal. Expect to see these plagues and calamities and judgments and punishments from Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai increase on the earth, because it's all punishment on you people for all the wickedness you've been committing. And famines are going to be some of the main plagues that's going to hit a lot of people. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 16 in the Apocrypha. I'm going to start at verse 17. "Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come?" If you're an Israelite or a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, and even an Israelite foreigner who looks like these heathen nations, but have heard the words that the prophets have been speaking and feel convicted in your spirit to come back to your power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, hey, that's going to be your salvation, to put off the ways of this world and come back to your power, so you can hope to be of that elect number and have that protective hedge of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai over you to shield you from all these calamities that are beginning to befall the earth. Behold, famine again, and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment, punishment for the wickedness you people have been committing. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. And we can clearly see this. This world is literally on fire and in an uproar. But a lot of these people out here honestly think that things are going to go back to normal and this is all just going to blow over. And they're not trying to change their ways. People have actually gotten more wicked out here. But hey, what's that saying? A hard head makes a soft ass. People out here about to learn the hard way. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. For many of them that dwell on the earth shall perish of famine. So as we can see, famine is going to be one of the major causes to take a lot of you wicked people out. And the other, that escape the hunger, shall the sword destroy. People getting drafted and going to fight in World War III and dying. People getting killed in these race wars and civil wars on the streets of America and on the streets of these nations all across the planet. A state of martial law getting declared and people getting sent to FEMA camps and getting tortured to death. The list goes on and on. Hey, if you're not of that elect number and don't have that protective hedge of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai over you, it's not looking good for you at all. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, shit, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. There's going to be so much death and destruction in that day, and you're going to see so many dead bodies that you're not going to give a second thought to it, like you don't give a second thought to that turd that you flushed down the toilet. But let's get back to that article. And when we read information like this, it just goes to show that everything we've been prophesying out on the streets, Akim, and prophesying through these video epistles are coming to pass right before our very eyes. So now more than ever, you should have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as you possibly can to make your calling and election sure, and hope to be saved from these calamities that Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is bringing upon the people of this earth. Mainly you Edomites, or so-called white people, for all the wickedness you've been committing, pretty much turning this planet into a trash can, and 2/3 of the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are hard-headed and refuse to return back to your power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Under normal conditions, Ukraine exports tremendous amounts of food and is considered to be one of the most important breadbaskets on the entire planet. Unfortunately, everything has changed now, and this has pushed the global prices of wheat up 55% since a week before the invasion happened. Ukrainian farmers have been forced to neglect their fields as millions flee, fight, or try to stay alive. Ports are shut down that send wheat and other food staples worldwide to be made into bread, noodles, and animal feed. And there are worries Russia, another agricultural powerhouse, could have its grain exports upended by Western sanctions. While there have not been global disruptions to wheat supplies, prices have surged 55% since a week before the invasion amid concerns about what could happen next. If the war is prolonged, countries that rely on affordable wheat exports from Ukraine could face shortages starting in July. International Grains Council Director Arnaud Petit told the Associated Press, "I really don't like that shortages starting in July part. That definitely sounds rather ominous. Right now, the global price of food is the highest that it has ever been, and Russia and Ukraine normally account for nearly 1/3 of the world's wheat and barley exports. Now that exports from Russia will be greatly reduced and exports from Ukraine will be virtually non-existent, some countries will almost immediately be facing extreme stress. For example, just consider Lebanon. The Lebanese normally get 60% of their wheat from Ukraine. War-ravaged Syria recently announced it would cut spending and ration staples. In nearby Lebanon, where a massive explosion at the Beirut port in 2020 destroyed the country's main grain silos, authorities are scrambling to make up for a predicted wheat shortage, with Ukraine providing 60% of its supply. They are in talks with the US, India, and Canada to find other sources for a country already in financial meltdown. Very high food prices caused riots all over the Middle East in 2011, and now we are moving into a food crisis that will be far greater than anything that we experienced back then. As it just said, very high food prices caused riots all over the Middle East in 2011. And when these shortages really begin to hit and prices go up, riots are going to happen again. And it's also prophesied for people to begin breaking into each other's houses and killing each other to get whatever food they can get their hands on. This is 2 Esdras chapter 15, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And what's the modern day sword? The gun, especially in the United States of America. And the United States of America won't be exempt from these famines that Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is bringing. And besides people using guns, people are going to be using bats, sticks, clubs, Molotov cocktails, brass knuckles, chains, etc., etc., and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, the lack of food, famines, and for great tribulation, all the other scourges of amendment, all the other calamities Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is bringing onto you people for all the wickedness you've been committing. Salakia. Things are going to be very challenging in Europe as well, because Ukraine normally provides 60% of the corn that Europeans use. Ukraine supplies the EU with just under 60% of its corn and nearly half of a key component in the grains needed to feed livestock. Meanwhile, crops all over the world are in surprisingly poor shape because weather conditions have been so strange. Earlier today, I was stunned to learn that it is being projected that China's winter wheat crop could be the worst in history. The condition of China's winter wheat crop could be the worst in history, the agricultural minister said in Saturday, raising concerns about grain supplies in the world's biggest wheat consumer. And the USDA is reporting that a whopping 71% of all winter wheat in the United States has been affected by drought. A limited supply of soft white wheat, the primary type of wheat grown in the inland Northwest, has helped lead to a 6-year low for wheat exporters from the United States. That's according to the USDA wheat report for February. The report also states that 71% of U.S. winter wheat is being hit by drought in 2022. We struggle to feed the entire world, even in the best of years, and this is definitely not going to be one of the best of years. It's the beginning of sorrows. Another factor that is going to drive up the cost of food is soaring energy prices. On Sunday, the national average of a gallon of gasoline in the United States crossed the $4 threshold. And I've seen it down here where I live. Gasoline prices surged to the highest level since 2008 on Sunday, as crude oil supply fears stemming from Russia's war on Ukraine increased the impact on consumers at the pump. The national average for a gallon of gas hit $4 on Sunday, according to AAA, which is the highest since July 2008, not adjusted for inflation. Prices have been rising at a fast clip. Consumers are paying 40 cents more than a week ago and 57 cents more than a month ago. So with this article, but wait, there's more. It gets even better. Here's another article I've got from ZeroHedge.com. Food crisis imminent. Famines imminent. Hungary bans all grain exports effective immediately. Those who have it are no longer giving it away, and those that don't will soon find themselves in the middle of an epic food crisis. Just hours after we reported that Russia effectively banned exports of fertilizers, moments ago, Hungary, one of Europe's most grain-rich nations, has circled the wagons and, realizing which way the wind is blowing, just announced that it will be banning all grain exports effective immediately. In a statement, expect wheat prices already at record highs, to promptly double from here in the next few weeks as the world realizes the extent of the global food crisis that is coming. So not only have Ukraine's wheat exports been disrupted, Russia's wheat exports are going to be disrupted, but what? You've got Hungary no longer exporting their wheat, and Russia talking about no longer exporting fertilizers for crops. A perfect circle, a perfect storm is brewing for these coming biblical famines. Our suggestion: buy flour, rice, barley, and any other grains you can now, rather than waiting 1 month to buy them because you have to. Earlier this morning, we listed some of the countries that are dangerously and almost exclusively reliant on Russia and Ukraine for their wheat imports, highlighting Turkey, Egypt, Tunisia, and others. Who buys Russian and Ukrainian wheat? A quarter of the world's wheat exports came from Russia and Ukraine in 2019. And look at all these nations that rely on Russian and Ukrainian wheat: Egypt, Turkey, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Yemen, Azerbaijan, Sudan, the UAE or United Arab Emirates, Senegal, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Tunisia, Thailand, Morocco, South Korea, Spain, the State of Israel, which are facing an Arab Spring-style food crisis and potential uprising. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall break into their houses with the force of the sword due to the lack of bread in the coming weeks, unless the Ukraine conflict is resolved. And no matter what happens, just know that these famines are coming, and nothing will stop biblical prophecy from coming to its fulfillment, as it says in Isaiah 55 verse 11, "And so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please." And unfortunately, we can now confidently predict that the coming food crisis will strike every country that is using food fertilizer, which is all because moments ago, Russian Interfax reported that as part of Moscow's counter-sanctions, Russia has recommended fertilizer makers to halt exports, a move which will send not only fertilizer prices orbitally higher, but all food prices will soon follow. Russia recommends fertilizer makers to halt exports. Russian ministry cites logistic issues on fertilizers. Worse still, natural gas is required in the manufacturing process for most nitrogen fertilizer products, and so the recent surge in European natural gas prices to record highs will only exacerbate the cost of fertilizer from any halt from Russia. Graph right here. And with wheat prices already at all-time highs. Another graph. All hell is about to break loose, not only among food producers, but soon in your local grocery stores once U.S. consumers realize that food prices are about to double, triple, and XPLE more. Back in 2 Esdras chapter 16. Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment, punishment on you people for all the wickedness you've been committing. Hey, so you better buckle up. It's about to be a very bumpy ride. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.